Broadcasting from the Bet MGM studio, it's time for Inside the Jets. Brought to you by EY, building a better world. Now, here's Bart Scott and Dan Graca.
And welcome into another edition of Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. I'm Dan Graca, that's former New York Jets linebacker Bart Scott. And Bart, here we are again, and unfortunately talking about another Jets loss, 30-10 on Sunday out of MetLife Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals. They're 0-5 now for the first time since 1996, which is a heck of a long time ago. But when you think about this game and how it unfolded, Jets scored a touchdown there in the third quarter. They cut it to 17-10, so it's a one-score game, still very much in the football game. But then that defense gets on the field, and unfortunately Arizona is able to drive it down the length of the field, convert a big 4th and 1 on that sequence, big play in the game. They go up 24-10, and that was really all she wrote.
Well, and that's what we're not accustomed to. Last year we saw this defense be able to step up in the moments, and now they aren't able to respond in situational football, right? When we knew that Arizona knew they had to respond because even as bad as the Jets had played, plays not made, they're in a position to potentially lose this game late. So you saw them go down, respond, make the plays that they needed to make, and unfortunately the Jets aren't able to come up with a play. And you need players to step up and say, who can make a play? It's one thing to make a tackle, it's another thing to be an impact player, and the Jets really just haven't been able to take that next step. I mean, unfortunately, we have a rookie fresh off the practice squad. We're asking him to guard arguably. Yeah, we're asking him to check arguably the best receiver in the game right now by himself. That's tough duty for anybody, let alone someone who is fresh off the practice squad. And it's just one of those things. It's a lot of lessons to be learned, and sometimes you can't measure the incremental success that a team is having because the end result isn't there. But I saw a lot of things that I was inspired by that gave me pause to say, you know what was this look like with everybody back? Right, and it's one of those things. And that's the hard part, when you think about it. How do you really evaluate some of these players when you don't have the array of the weapons that was promised to them? You don't have the players that they need. Now, listen, everybody's dealing with injuries, but it's hard when you don't have your number one receiver, your number two receiver, your number three receiver just comes back, and you haven't got the productivity that you expected out of your tight end. Le'Veon Bell's freshly coming back, trying to figure it out, and you don't have your left tackle. I thought Joe did a great job in having pocket awareness, not taking bad plays, not taking bad sacks, getting rid of the football instead of holding on to it and burping a baby and potentially setting itself up to have a penalty. But at the end of the day, that wasn't enough. And you have to be able to put points on the board. But on the flip side, the defense goal and every defensive goal is to keep the team under 17 points. The Jets haven't been able to do that. You got to get off the field on third down, and on the flip side, you got to convert third down.
Right. Yeah, they've had some problems there in short yardage, and they had problems yesterday when it comes to the short yardage.
And let me say something about that, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that Gase has taken a lot of criticism about those plays. Why do you run outside? Why do you run? Those are really solid plays that I was successful with in every team that I've ever was part of. Really what that was is a fullback trap. And the other one was a play and a counter off the fullback trap, because once you run the fullback trap and they stop that, but if you would have got that, and even when you didn't get it, the dive pitch is basically the counter to the fullback trap. So you fake the fullback trap, and it's a reverse pivot out, and you pitch it outside and hope that your guy can beat them to the corner, right? What happened was, West Coast really isn't a fullback, so he doesn't understand how to make that jump cut. He had his head down, and he was just trying to make sure that he goes
trying
hard.
To bulldoze his way ahead.
Bulldoze, but you can't bulldoze 300-pound men, and then when they're blocking a 300-pound man, that makes it 600 pounds. You have to make that subtle jump cut and find the bubble. He's not used to doing that. That's something I'm sure they've gone over in short yardage goal line. But when you do that against your team, you're going to be able to get the movement, because it's not going to be the same amount of resistance as somebody that's going to be coming off like it's the most pivotal play of the game, because we protect each other in practice. So it was a false sense of security. But that's a play that I would call, if you're in that situation again, call that play again and again, because for years, for decades, that play has been one of the hardest plays to stop. That's basically a fullback sneak.
All right, time now to get a little bit more on Sunday's game with our pal, senior reporter Eric Allen, and former Jet tight end Anthony Beck. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, guys. Anthony, the New York Jets start 0-5 for the first time since 1996, and they had some opportunities to keep this game close, but it became a runaway in the second half. A 30-10 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Another disappointing performance for the green and white.
It was. I think this team at spurts today showed some competitive fire, but I think it comes down to, we talked about this in the pregame, is starting fast, especially when you have your backup quarterback who's a veteran, has not played any snaps in a long time, getting him, try to get him into the game flow, and you hope that you can build some balance with run and pass. The Jets decide to come out and immediately try to pass and get him kind of, at least try to get some type of fluency with him and the receivers. Unfortunately, it didn't really lead to any first downs. And when you start fast, you want to try to convert, and that's what they couldn't do.
How deflating is that offensively? Like you just talked about those opportunities. You're inside the red zone, 3rd and 1, nothing. Then 4th and 1, nothing. Then the defense actually gets the ball back for you. Neville Hewitt, a pass deflection that Avery Williamson returns all the way to the 10-yard line. And out of those 2 possessions, you come up with 3 points. And like you mentioned, 1 of 7 on 3rd down in the first half. And again, 0 of 2 in the red zone. Yeah,
it is a little deflating as a player, especially in the circumstance that the Jets are in. I mean, look, they haven't won a game, and they're fighting. You see Le'Veon Bell with the effort and the drive, and the run game in general was pretty good. It was helped by a little bit of Joe Flacco and his ability to scramble. He was able to move the chains several times. When they had good coverage and there was some breakdowns up front, he was able to survive and move the chains for the Jets, which was good to see. But again, it comes down, like you said, red zone, punching it in, scoring touchdowns, and just 1 touchdown in this game. And offensively is an issue, and defensively, you don't make stops. You need the offense to create something for you, at least field position. And then you have a quarterback that, quite honestly, is hard to catch. And that's what the Jets fell into today.
Jamison Crowder, 3 consecutive games of 100 yards receiving. He is the guy who got the Jets into the end zone Sunday. On the other side of the ball, you talked about the lack of pressure on Kyler Murray. He had a career passing day. And then DeAndre Hopkins, I thought the Jets kept him quiet. And then before you knew it, he took the game over in the second half. And the Cardinals finished with close to 500 yards of total offense.
Yeah, really, Murray was just going another option. I mean, Lamar Jackson did a really solid job on Hopkins. Look at those numbers. If you didn't watch the game, you think, man, he torched the Jets. He made 2 incredible catches in the second half. 1 double cover with the safety coming over. Ashton Davis was there. Lamar Jackson's right on him. He's literally catching it on his shoulder pad with 1 arm. And then, of course, the one earlier down the sidelines. He does run by Jackson. It's a poorly underthrown ball. It allows Jackson to get closer, and he has to catch a ball with a DB hanging on him, and he's able to do it. Again, just, a lot of offense, and really you say get to the quarterback. It was strategic. Most of the time, if they didn't try to get to him, it was 2 or 3-man rush trying to space it out and trying to force the quarterback into a bad throw, and they weren't able to do that either. So, again, he beat you with his legs, his arm. He was on point today, no disruption. That's a problem if you're going against the quarterback like Kyler Murray.
The second quarter of the New York Jets schedule began much like the first quarter ended. The Jets fall to 0-5 with the 30-10 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Anthony, thanks very much.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Jets safety Marcus Maye on Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. And welcome back to Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. Dan Graca, Bart Scott, and it's time now for our player guest segment, which is presented by EY, building a better working world. And he's one of the leaders of this defense, his 4th year in green and white. Pleased to be joined by Marcus Maye here on Inside the Jets. Marcus, it's Dan Graca and Bart Scott. Thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
I'm all right. How you guys doing?
Maintaining, man. How crazy have this season been? You guys had the scare on Friday. And it changes your routine. Now you're going to play an opponent that you didn't prepare for, didn't expect on your schedule in Miami. Just explain to everybody just how fluid you have to be this season and just how unique it is to you and your preparation and trying to get some type of routine.
You just got to be prepared for whatever happens. Each day something could pop up, especially the times that we're in right now. You got to always be on your toes and be ready for whatever.
I know injuries are just all over the place, man, and some injuries were sustained yesterday. and you have so many new players. How hard is it because of the lack of the preparation with the unique offseason that you had? Is it for you to have to communicate? I saw on one of the short yardage downs, looks like you guys are in some form of 46, where typically you would have like a my way, your way. If the guy blocks you, you buy him. I get the blitz to put pressure on the quarterback. But then it looked like it was a communication issue. How hard is that, the fact that you've had so many injuries that you can't get that verbal and nonverbal communication from your teammates because you guys haven't been in those situations with each other because it's always a different player?
I mean, you normally get a OTA to get all those things down. Then you get the camp, and then you get another run at it. But it's just something that we have to do better. Communicate faster, be on the same page. I mean, like I said, there were some things here and there that went well, but the things that hurt us were just things of communication. And, we just got to continue to work at it, and everybody has to do their job.
Let's talk about that game a little bit Sunday, Marcus, because you knew during the week that you guys were going to have your hands full trying to slow down that Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray and, of course, those two very, very talented wide receivers. And I thought for the most part you guys did a pretty good job yesterday, with the exception of a couple of big plays that they ultimately hit on you. What was it like trying to slow those guys down on yesterday's game?
I mean, we knew the type of team they were. We knew that the quarterback can use his feet and throw. They went a little no huddle as well. I mean, I feel like we did a good job here and there. But like you said, those 2 or 3 plays, we let the ball get out and the ball go over our heads. We just got to continue to be on the same page on the back end. Because once it gets to that level, it could get worse. Just got to continue to rally around each other for the most part.
Man, I thought you guys had a great, point of emphasis this week on making sure that you guys didn't have self-inflicted wounds. You guys only had 30 yards of penalties. Attention to detail and that emphasis really helped you guys to be able to execute that way and play a clean game, because we always talk about the hitting yardage. And when you're struggling and when you don't have a lot of your players that you expected to be playing with, you got to make sure that you play a clean game. I thought you guys did a great job in cleaning up some of the procedural issues that you guys had the previous week, and also the personal fouls and those type of penalties.
Right, yeah, it was an emphasis during the week. I mean, we knew that the penalties have been hurting us prior, so that we harped on it. We did a good job. We didn't have too many penalties, probably like one I think. So that was something that we harped on all week. I mean, now we got that off our radar. Just kind of go on to the next thing that we have to correct and just put emphasis on that.
Flacco takes the snap, drops back, blitz off the edge, looks right, throws right. Crowder makes the catch on a slant, reaches the ball out at the goal line. The ball pops free, but they'll say it's a touchdown.
Welcome back to Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. Let's get a little bit more into Sunday's game with the voices of the New York Jets. Here's Bob Wischusen and Marty Lyons. Boys?
All right, thanks very much. Well, Marty, the Jets fall to 0-5 for the first time since 1996. They give up almost 500 yards of offense to the Arizona Cardinals, and you see the difference. Arizona's got difference makers. DeAndre Hopkins is a difference maker. He made huge plays in the second half. When the Jets had, with very little margin for error, a chance to make some big plays, they just couldn't do it. And now again, they have to try and piece it back together, as now they play the Dolphins next week in this rearranged schedule. Again, we're kind of left to ask, where do they go from here?
Well, I don't know where they go from here, Bob. I think all the players have to evaluate their performance, evaluate their effort, and realize that there's room for improvement. At 0-5, you can point the finger at anybody. You can point it at the coaches. You can point it at the players. We're all in this together, and they have got to understand that nobody's going to feel sorry for them. But you can't play in the NFL and you give up, 500 yards. You can't make mental mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. You can't have drop passes when you have a quarterback in there like Joe Flacco that hasn't had a lot of practice time. You've got to help your quarterback out. They just didn't do that today, and as a result, you lose by 20 points. You're 0-5, and you got to get ready to play in 7 days. Again, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You got to go out there and make things happen.
Well, I guess the one thing that you may still be able to look towards is they should continue to get some guys back. Le'Veon Bell being back did help the offense a little bit. If nothing else, I think it made Frank Gore more effective because he wasn't playing the entire game. Those two at times found some creases for some runs. And if you get Rashad Perriman, if we ever get a chance to see Denzel Mims, if you get Mekhi Becton back, then maybe the offense has the weapons that you thought they would have, and they can get something rolling. But it's very clear to see that the drop-off from the guys they thought they were going to have to the guys they do have is just not enough to produce points in the NFL.
All I know is, Bob, that was a lot of ifs in one sentence. If. You know what? You got to get the team healthy, and you got to get some of your playmakers back. But unfortunately, at 0-5, those injuries may lag on a little bit more. You may not want to come back. Unfortunately, you know what? That's the way players are looking at it nowadays. That you're 0-5. Why should I come back? Well, first of all, you're an employee of a NFL team and the New York Jets, and you owe it to not just yourself, but you owe it to your teammates. So we're going to have to wait and see how quick a lot of these players can come back from their injuries.
Well, we'll see how they react. The Jets now play the Dolphins next week, and we will have it for you, a 4 o'clock kickoff, so a 2 o'clock pregame on 98.7 ESPN. So that's Marty Lyons. I'm Bob Wischusen. Back to you in the studio.
Still to come, we have more with Jets safety Marcus Maye right here on Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. Welcome back to Inside the Jets. Dan Graca, Bart Scott talking with Jets safety Marcus Maye. In your 4th year with the team now, Marcus, do you feel that you've had to maybe up your leadership traits a little bit more this year, given all the new faces, especially on the defense, the younger players, and you're now one of the elder statesmen on this team? How have you become more of a leader, you think, this season?
Just trying to communicate more, get guys lined up, at the same time, trying to get myself, going. It's been a up and down road, but I mean, for the most part, everybody's been doing a great job. Just continue to push each other. You just got to preach positivity here right now. Just continue to rally the guys. I mean, once we get 11 guys communicating and everybody doing their jobs at the right time, there's bright moments there. And I feel like once we get to that point, we'll be okay.
Now tell me this, did the change of schedule, is that messing up your bye-week plans? Did you already have bye-week plans going on? Like, changing the schedule can affect a lot of people, who've already, planned. I know we're in a pandemic, so not a lot of traveling going on. But now you have to mentally adjust to go on and playing some games that you didn't expect to play, and then worrying about trying to get your body right and get your mind right, more importantly.
Yeah, and it was definitely a curveball. Hearing that they changed the schedule, we were supposed to be out west, and now we gotta switch our minds and get ready for another division game and travel, down to Florida. So it was definitely something that we didn't expect coming from after the game. But it's next opponent, familiar opponent. So we got to be prepared and just got to get on top of those guys starting today.
Well, speaking of Florida, that's home for you, of course, and I know that you're really involved in the community down there. You have your charity. I'm curious, how has that part of your life been impacted by the pandemic? How have you been able to adjust and maybe do some different things because you haven't had as much probably time to do hands-on type of activities and events that you're usually accustomed to with your charity?
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely took had us to take a step off for the pandemic. Not being able to get out in the community, into the community, and do work with the kids and different organizations, stuff like that. So now a lot of things are just behind the scenes, just getting things planned. So for when the world slowly opens back up, we can get back into the community and get hands on.
Well, keep up the great work with that. We know you're outstanding when it comes to giving back to where you came from. And Marcus, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it as always. And best of luck coming up next week against Miami and the rest of the season. Thanks again.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
That's all the time we have for this week's show. We'll be back with you again next week. He's Bart Scott. I'm Dan Graca. This has been Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. So long, everybody.